Boom.
You're gonna say welcome to. Come on now.
Oh, am I supposed to do this? I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought you were leading the show.
No, you're the guy. I led it last time. You weren't here. Now you're back, so you're the guy.
Welcome to the first live edition of In the Doghouse,
Ooh, that was
a podcast by Justin Kotler, Kiefer Lammy, and Dakota Shackleton. As long as we let him stay in here and his internet's good enough.
He's got headphones now.
Yep.
You are really coming. You're coming correct now, bro.
And we need to do that 30-second countdown every time. I was hyped. I don't know if anyone could see me, but I was like, get ready.
The hype that was built when Justin goes, dang, Braun, and then all of a sudden it cut out and I had no idea what
That was
happened.
good too.
You didn't tell us.
Don't tell him yet.
We'll talk about it after.
He got into them toes to bar. Big Braun. How about that?
Big Braun's been working.
That's a big boy.
That's because there was no 5-mile run in the middle of the workout.
Hey, he's getting much better. All right. He's going to do some damage this year, that dude. How we doing, boys?
Good.
This recovered.
Should I set the scene? Should I set the scene from this afternoon?
I mean, after I say my piece about how this was the least painful open workout I think I've ever done. I look at this work. I know, but I look at it, and for somebody like me, I look at it and went, oh, there are 4 movements I love, and there's a skill that's so limiting that it's just going to slow me down at the end.
Was all that on the outside or the inside feeling? Would the camera reflect that?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well,
I don't know. When the shirts came off, it seemed like energy was still flowing for like the last 3 or 4 minutes.
It was pretty, I will say this. First of all, this is my favorite open workout of all time. Let's put it out there. I've loved this workout since 2014 when I did it for the first time, and we had our athletes back at CrossFit Dynamics do it. And I programmed it several times since then. I still think it's the best program open workout of all time. I think that it has, you have to be fit. It doesn't favor any specific, type of athlete. I just think in general that the most fit athletes do really, really well. So I love that they program this. I'm so happy we're not here talking about shuttle runs and burpees for, an hour and trying to make that exciting. So that's really great. I think CrossFit did a great job of bringing this one back. And honestly, when they said that everyone can do it RX, he was right, because everyone can row. So you can at least do it RX.
I looked like such an asshole telling all my friends and stuff. I'm like, I feel like it's just going to be shuttle runs and burpees. I think it's going to be a ladder or a death by or something like that. Totally approachable. I got so many texts after like, nice fucking job, Kiefer.
You didn't say it like, I think it's going to be this. You said it like it was practically linked. He's like, yep, 7 minutes, shuttle runs, burpees, have fun.
Because I wanted it to come out and I wanted everybody to be like, dang, how'd you know that?
Yeah.
Got it.
You were convinced. You were completely.
And I thought that it was going to be me and Dakota in an absolute fucking slog fest of shuttles and burpees.
I mean, are you also bad at shuttle runs and burpees?
No, I felt confident I was going to win that, would have won that workout. But I also thought at what point in this workout that I was going to beat you too.
Yeah. So let me set the mood, because Dakota and Kiefer did the workout this afternoon. I've done this workout like 5 times in my life, and right now knees and shoulders definitely not. But anyway, we both of them start the workout, and Kiefer was ahead. I mean, pretty much the entire workout, right? I mean, he's up the whole workout. I'm looking, he looks great, phenomenal. I mean, I think you got to the muscle ups, about 10 minutes in?
I think I was just sub 10, 9:57 maybe.
Looked phenomenal, right? And in my head, Kiefer's got some of his athletes watching. We got Kendall and Carson and Ava. We got, who else is there? Man. Laurie was watching, Skylar. Like, people were just like, holy shit.
My dog.
Kiefer looks good. Dakota's over there. He's a little bit behind. I was like, maybe he's drafting him, And then Kiefer gets the muscle ups, and he does his first muscle up. And he comes down after one muscle up, and the only words out of his mouth were, "Oh no!" And then proceeds to get 5 muscle ups over the next 4 minutes.
We will be redoing.
There were an equal amount of misses to makes on the muscle ups, and Dakota passed him up. Gets back to the rower and
in my first set
calories in.
True,
it's pretty good.
Yeah. True, you matched me in your first set.
But I will say this, man, it was fun to watch. Keith, you looked really, really good for about 9 minutes and 52 seconds. So
that workout is 4 of my absolute favorite movements, paired with a skill at the end that this 225 body has not done in a Metcon more than a couple times ever. It just face. I felt so fit going into that and just totally incapable of doing one. Like I got there, I finished the power cleans, looked at the clock. I was like, oh, I got 4 minutes left. I was like, I'm going to finish this fucking workout. I look at Dakota. I'm like, I'm going to beat Dakota. I'm 5 or 6 reps ahead of her. I was so wrong. I was so wrong.
Oh, Kenny. Yeah, he was.
Get out of here, Kenny.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Kenny, you better beat him tomorrow. That's all I got to say.
Actually, I would be worried that she is going to definitely beat you.
Yeah, I think she'll beat you.
Yeah.
She's going to beat you.
If she beats me tomorrow, I will do the workout again tomorrow.
Okay. Well, if the workout was won on the row, Allie, then Kiefer won the workout for sure.
Top 5 in the world, easily.
Yeah. Kiefer was off that thing in sub 220 or right around 220.
Yeah, it was like 220. You were like 15, 20 seconds ahead of me on almost everything. Like he got off the rower. I'm like, okay, all right, go chase him on the toes to bar. Then I'm like, oh, he got off the toes to bar. Okay, go chase him on the wall ball. And then finally we got to the rings. And I actually didn't realize you had made that first one. In the corner of my eye, I just heard like a big drop. Yep. And that just like, oh. And I'm like, oh, did he miss his first one?
He missed his second one.
Yeah, this is the signs of a phenomenal coach, because you know what I did is I went out and I gave you a push on the fitness aspects of that workout where you needed it. Yeah, I took the rope and I carried you through the workout, and when it came time for where you needed to, I said, "Here you go, just take it." He
was the rabbit in the Olympics. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a 5K run at the Olympics, and it was Kiefer through those first couple laps. You were like, "Holy shit, this guy's really fast!" And then you're like, "Oh," and then you realize like after 3 laps, he's done. And that was
it did 2 things. I mean, it did give me that little push to be like, all right, well, this could be a chance to push when I wouldn't normally. But then at the end, it was nice to have that understanding of like, okay, my skills are there where like you can be a little bit patient. And if you have 2 to 3 minutes, like you can get so far ahead in terms of those muscle ups, and like your placement is going to jump so much higher versus the people that are just fighting to get like time caps or tie breaks.
And I think that's going to be really important, because this workout comes out and there are a ton of people who are like right around the quarterfinals level that see the ring muscle ups, and they're afraid that like their inability to do big sets of ring muscle ups are what's going to keep them out of something. But the reality is that like just getting to that piece and doing a couple, doing one as a female athlete, doing a few as a male athlete is enough that it's going to separate you so much in that chunk that like that's not really the piece to be that stressed about. Like if you're still working on ring muscle ups, that's fine. Get there. Don't do what I did. Go in with the plan of like just trying to execute a couple, and then let your fitness carry you through the next couple of weeks, and know that like no single workout over the course of the Open is going to make or break your top 10%.
Yeah. I mean, so I think I'd like to go over what we watched earlier, right? The live, talk a little bit about what we saw with Lazar and BKG and Laura and Gabby. And then obviously kind of talk a little bit through what we feel. You guys have done it. I've done the workout probably about 5 times in my life. So I've got a really great understanding of strategy and tips for it. I think it'd be good to kind of go through like what the elites did, right? Because we're gonna have a lot of athletes watching that are in that, semis games level. And then we can kind of go down a little bit further, as far as skill level, into that quarterfinal level. And then obviously just kind of your everyday CrossFitters and talk a little bit about that. But
maybe touch on the suggestions that CrossFit gave about doing touch and go power cleans and why we don't think that's a great idea.
Terrible idea. I mean, I love James Hobart, but I think that was an awful idea. So when we watched it earlier today, we got to watch obviously 2 of the best in the sport. I think,
4 of the best.
Well, yeah, two on the men's side, 2 on the women's side. Correct. 4 the best, and 4 who were in the top 10 on both sides. Right. And obviously I saw this and I was pretty sure that Lazar and Laura would take it. It's just a wheelhouse workout for both of them. But it was fun to watch, and obviously they crushed it, beating the best scores of all time from 2014. And I think obviously we'll see people who beat those scores. But when we watched it, it was pretty impressive to see Lazar be able to get off of the rower at 2:10 and 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and then just kind of sprint right over to the bar and jump up and do how many did you do, Kiefer?
30. I think he did 30 plus. Yeah. I think he was saying that normally in a workout like this he would do like 25, but I'm pretty sure he did 34 or so, because then he went and he did a small set to finish, and it looked like he went to the wall ball at 40 thinking he was done, had to go back and do another 10. So
yeah. And I think that, you know, something interesting to bring up there is that he admitted he thought he made a mistake, and if he was to do it over again, Casey's saying 25, 15, 10.
Okay,
I
so
thought
it
he had
was
done
25.
more, but okay, if he did 25, but he came on and said that he would go, you know, 15, 15, 10, 10. If he was to do it again, he'd break it into 4 sets. And I think that's very smart. I just think that, you know, when you talk about the remainder of this workout and the things that are the limiting factors, you're talking about grip and midline. Obviously for most, you know, for people that aren't elite, it's going to be general fitness as well. It should be global fatigue. But, you know, I think him admitting that, you're talking about maybe the guy who's the best in the world at toe to bar. I mean, at the games, he won 2 years ago. He won that run toe to bar workout, the 3 rounds. He's incredible at toe to bar. So to you know, the fact that he said that, I think obviously that's something you can glean from watching them. And then it was, you know, incredibly impressive though, to be able to watch them, you know, move so quickly through this workout. I think BKG got called for a ton of no reps on muscle ups, which I think is why he was so far behind him, because he wasn't that far behind. And BKG is phenomenal at muscle ups. And then you just look at someone like Laura, who, I mean, she just freaking annihilated it. It was ridiculous to watch, honestly. She's so good at muscle ups. I think she did 3 sets of ring muscle ups. And for women at that level, even at the elite level, to do that in 3 sets is incredibly impressive. So, you know, but again, I think wheelhouse workout, massive wheelhouse workout for her and Lazar. You know, so I think in general, one of the big things that I want to talk about was, you know, even though it was a wheelhouse, they're playing to their strengths, right?
Yeah.
Like when you look at a workout like that, they're playing to their strengths on the rower, playing to their strengths on the toe to bar. They both talked about how the wall balls were recovery, right? And then in the cleans, essentially you're trying to set yourself up so that you can go big on muscle ups. You know, Laura went 5 touch and go, but I wouldn't go by Laura, because if people know, you know, remember, Laura is a rock climbing champion, right? She's got bear paws. She's got the best grip in the sport. She can get away with going 5 touch and go and then all singles. If you watched Lazar and BKG, they both went with singles, and Gabby went with touch and go. And I think that was a mistake for Gabby. I think in retrospect, if she did it again, she would go singles. I think she probably saw Laura do it and thought that then she could do it, but I think it was a mistake. I would strongly suggest going singles on the cleans and setting yourself up for success on the ring muscle ups. But you guys doing it, go ahead and chime in. That's, you know, my initial thoughts on it.
I mean, I was just going to say, the reality is that for like 90% of all people, even a good chunk of people at the elite level, the entire workout is how you perform through your 20 muscle ups. So what you do, like how big you can go on toe to bar, how fast you can get through the power clean, doesn't matter that much if it turns into you taking a 20-second break in between sets of muscle ups, or you have to do 3s instead of 5s, or you can't do a set of 8 to 10 to start, or whatever that is. So I think that even Lazar saying he would have done 15, 15, 10, 10 if he did it again on toe to bar, going smaller there, saying totally relaxed through that middle chunk, going singles on power cleans, just sets you up to attack what is going to be by far like the slowest piece of that workout better.
And I think you guys touched on it after you guys finished it. And I know that it's the way I felt back in the day doing it. And if you're watching the feed right now, you can kind of see their pacing where they were staying on top of their singles. But those power cleans, right? You've just got to stay tough through those power cleans. You have to stay on those power cleans. It's very easy to do, you know, kind of do one and back away, et cetera. But if you watch them, they're just kind of nice cadence. You know, it's a, what, you know, you hit a power clean, take a breath, pick it up, et cetera. And then what Laura said, which I think is important for some people and probably would have been really important for you, Kiefer, was when she went over to the muscle ups, she took a little extra rest than she normally would to be able to recover and to be able to do a bigger set than, you know, just she wanted to be able to knock out a big set. And I think she said she knocked out like 7 to 8. So,
Same.
you know, without a doubt, I think, you know, once you're done with the power clean's a great time to take an extra 5 to 10 seconds than you normally would on your break, maybe even 15, to be able to knock out a nice chunk of muscle ups as long as, you know, you have that skill in your bag.
Yeah.
Dakota, what do you think, bro?
I did think, you know, the part that we're watching right now, the power cleans, I mean, that was a huge like shift in the workout. The first 3 things, honestly, were kind of like fun. I'm like, okay, rowing, toes to bar, like the wall balls weren't too bad, you know, 3 sets on those. And then, yeah, just like had to be kind of mentally tough on the power cleans. It's easy to have 2 extra seconds between each rep times 30 reps. You know, you're adding an entire minute to your set. I tried to do like 10 quick ones in a row, and it seemed like that was about what Kiefer was doing. And so like that was like just under 3 minutes. And then, yeah, like I needed to do exactly what Laura was saying, which was like take 2 extra seconds. Well, I think she said like 6 or 7 extra seconds before she hopped up on her last set. Cause I went 5, 5, 5. And then, I mean, it should have been 5 on the last one, but having to do a 4 and 1 is like easily an extra 5 to 10 calories, you know, from what my total score would have been.
Right.
If I just would have taken that 1 extra second, but I was eager and I felt like, okay, I did 3 sets of 5. I should be able to do unlimited sets of 5.
Right.
Not
right.
the case.
Yeah. I think I'm a poor example of this in general, but I think, you know, going into the muscle ups, I was prepared for it to be my grip and my heart rate that were going to be limiters for me. And I got there and both of them felt fine. And I was like, cool, this is going to be great. I'm going to jump right up. And that was not the case at all. I was much more limited just by like my midline and my pulling in general from the workout. And I just wasn't prepared for it at all. And it slapped me in the face.
Yeah. It felt more like just the overall pull, not the actual grip.
Yep.
Like I had to actually kind of rely on my grip and let that swing take me a little bit longer up through the top part of the muscle up. And then, yeah, that's when the pull really started to go.
Yeah, I mean, Kiefer, you were having a full conversation with me at the time.
Yeah, that's all I had to do. That's all I had left in me.
Look, you did not. You know, you were breathing fine. It just came down to midline in your pull.
Yep.
that were pretty smoked.
And I think that's just, you know, part of that. And this, I'm sure that there will be some other people that feel similarly to some degree, is managing expectations. I went into it thinking like I'd be able to chip away at 2s and 3s, and 1 was a struggle, and I actually missed a couple, and so that was just enough of a shock that it like took me out of a game plan. had I gone into it being like, okay, like I'm going to feel really tired, singles are going to be a good game plan for me, I would have taken 45 seconds after the power cleans, made sure that I hit every rep, and I probably would have gotten 5 extra. But instead I was out there, finished the first half, looked at Dakota, knew he had like 5 power cleans left, looked at the clock. I was like, I'm going to finish this workout and I'm going to fucking beat him right now.
Of being a front runner sometimes. You think you can just keep your foot on the gas. So like obviously the ring muscle ups were what they were. Do you think you would have changed anything besides taking a few extra seconds before that first set though? Like looking back at the whole workout?
Honestly, pacing wise, I felt really good. Heart rate felt good. Power cleans, the way I mentally thought of it was like it was 5 sets of 6. And so for me to make sure that I don't like take too long between reps, it was do 6 singles relatively fast, take 2 extra breaths, 6 singles again. And that helps me chip away on something that's 1 rep at a time anyway. I think the only place that I would have slowed down based on how I felt was I probably on toe to bar would have gone smaller sets. So I went 10, 8, 7, 5, 5, 5 with like 5 to 8 seconds rest. Felt really good. But knowing that my midline was like the biggest limiter for me, and I finished the first half in under 10 minutes anyway, like I would have just done 5s the whole way through, chilled through that section of the workout to try and make sure that I had some more snap, because I literally just couldn't turn over fast enough.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to remind people, like, listen, if muscle ups are a challenge for you, they're not going to not be a challenge for you after all the work that you're doing going into it. So don't just all of a sudden in your mind, like the expectations, the realistic expectations of, okay, if muscle ups are not, you know, are not a great movement for you, understand they're going to be even more challenging at the end of all the work going in. So go into it understanding that, and with a plan that allows you to maximize the amount that you can get.
Mhm.
Don't go in thinking all of a sudden, you know, if triples are a challenge for you when you're fresh or you're doing EMOMs, it's going to be really hard for you at the end of this workout, and going in understanding that maybe singles, maybe doubles, like that's going to be the way to go, and giving yourself extra rest going in, I think, is incredibly important. But yeah, not having unrealistic expectations on those muscle ups, because they are very challenging at the end of this
think
workout.
Our rule of thumb has always kind of been that, you know, within a workout for something like a muscle up, you can expect to be able to do a third of what your max set is at most, right? So if you're one of the people in the world that can do 30, like, you might be able to rip off a set of 10. If you're a muggle, then you've got, you know, 15 to 22, then you're probably looking at that biggest set being 5 to 7. Like Dakota is somebody who has around 20 on broken ring muscle ups, and he did 5s through that chunk, right? If you're somebody who's still developing them, and even if you're building confidence and your max set is 5 or 6, like, you should not be going into this thinking you're going to do a set of 2 or 3. I made this mistake myself. I think that doing singles and executing at the end, knowing that this is something that you're going to do with like 1, 2, 3 minutes left, a single, 2 singles, 3 successful singles without misses is going to catapult you up the leaderboard so far, because there's such a huge chunk of people that are going to be right around that mark of, okay, I've got a minute or two. Am I going to get a muscle up right now?
Yeah.
And if you fail one, then you take away, it's not a 10-second break. If you fail a muscle up, it turns into 45 seconds. I think I rested for a minute in between and watched Dakota do 2 sets of 5 at one.
That's real though. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's absolutely huge, you know, how you strategize going in, and we'll obviously get it. I think, you know, we'll get into each movement and talk about, you know, how we feel about strategy depending on your level. But yeah, I think just overall in general, setting yourself up for success on the muscle ups, you know, assuming you have them, because if you don't have muscle ups, then it's a whole different strategy, right? Then you're trying to work to have the fastest tie break time that you possibly can. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But assuming you have muscle ups, you know, setting yourself up for success there. And like Kiefer said, the workout is it's not won on the row or the total bar or the wall balls, or in my opinion, the power cleans. But it can easily be lost there, because if you're too aggressive and then you go into the muscle ups and you don't have anything left, or you don't take enough time, you will pay the price, which Kiefer did today.
The price of
allegedly
in front of your clients, your athletes.
I don't know, man. I was impressed. You look pretty good. I mean,
I felt good.
For 10 minutes, I was really impressed.
You know, we talked to Laurie about this, and she asked, you know, what we would have done differently. And it's silly to say, like, when I had done a workout and I failed as many reps as I did, that I wouldn't do a lot differently. But I truly just think it was like my muscle up capacity was not prepared to do muscle ups in a workout. And I don't know that anything I would have done aside from not doing the work before them would have changed that. And so it's a different conversation for somebody like me than it would be for somebody like Dakota, who's, okay, if he wants to get on the rower with an extra 30 seconds, what can he do differently? And so I think it'd be interesting to talk through each of the movements that way.
It's, you know, not easy to feel like when you and I started the workout, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm fitter than him, even though he can row faster than me or deadlift more than me. Like, I'll still, you know, take him in this one. So it's kind of tough to be like behind for 75% of the workout, but like just be patient at the same time. But like, I knew that once the muscle ups came, that I was hoping to do even bigger sets at first, but 5, 5, 5, 5 was still, I mean, plenty to do, more than I needed. I did this workout a few years ago and got 6 or 7 ring muscle ups. So to finish and get back on the rower, I guess the biggest mistake I made was when Justin said, change your damper. I flipped it all the way down instead of all the way up, and probably lost a few calories.
When in the world does crank your damper mean turn it down?
It's because Dakota's so used to me telling him to put the damper down and row at a higher stroke rate.
Yeah, but I knew he was going to have 20, 30 seconds left. So at that point, it's just crank the damper and just try to get as much out as you can, right? Yeah, and then he put it down to like 3. I was like, what are you doing? Oh, man. But
it makes so much more sense now when I'm not in workout brain and all that.
I know. All right, let's go through it. What do you think, boys?
Start movement by movement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. We got it up on the backdrop.
60 cal row buy-in. Realistically, all you're trying to do is not put yourself in a hole in the beginning. You can play this exactly to where your strengths are at, where your fitness level is at. Don't pretend to be any faster or fitter than you are on the rower, because you're just trying to get off with your heart rate in a manageable position, knowing that you have more work to do after. So
Yes.
like
You want
if
to be able
you're
to get off the rower and go straight to work onto the bar.
this to me, this is the type of one where like the easiest way for me to describe this to a lot of people, if I don't actually know their paces, is just to say like, you should be rowing at your EMOM pace. Like if we were doing a really standard, like 15 for men, 12 for women type of EMOM for 30 to 40 minutes, you're rowing at a similar pace to what you would row there, maybe starting a little bit hotter just because you're excited in the beginning, but settling in, because there's no reason to go a ton faster than that.
What pace did you row at, Keith? Now, take into account Kiefer is 6'4", 225 pounds. He's an excellent rower. Your 2K time is what, probably sub 640, I would say.
And rowing for like power output in cals is something I've actually been working on lately because we've had that in our template. So rowing was like my biggest strength in the whole piece. So I started much hotter than I would probably have told myself or anybody else to. But I started off the first 10 or 15 cals like 1800. Rode through the whole middle around 1600, and the last 10 cals I did like 1400 to kind of relax through there, because that's a pace that I can row at sustainably and control my heart rate. Really, I was like, my goal was to be able to get right off and get to my first set of toes to bar without shock or without having to stop. And so that's where I felt like I could kind of have like a consistent positive split where my heart rate stayed down as I started to fatigue a little.
Dakota, where'd you row at?
Mine was like the same exact scheme, just like 200 less. So I started at 1600 for the first 10 or 15 cals. I was just cruising right at 1400 the entire time. And like the last maybe 5 to 10, I started dipping down into the 13 or 12. I set my chalk right next to the rower because there was already like 10 feet that I had to walk to get to the bar. And same thing, like I saw Lazard latch onto that pull-up bar in like 0.2 seconds. So I tried to just do a quick wipe of chalk, get up for my first set. And yeah, like I felt fine going off the rower. It was definitely like where I needed to be. I could have easily slowed it down if I didn't have, a push there, and I definitely could have gone too hard, but that was right there. That's where I needed to be.
And like an important piece of this is it's cool to get the information from people like Lazar and from Laura and everything. Like he said that he rode a 1600, right? That means that like, as if he's one of the fittest men in the world and one of the best in the world at those 3 movements in a row, that there is almost no reason that anybody should be thinking that they're rowing that fast or faster, with the exception of if you're not really worried about getting through the muscle ups and you're kind of just trying to get to your tie break time. And so maybe you're pushing the first half more. So I think for him being at like a 1600 means that most pretty fit individuals are probably on the men's side are in that 14 to 1600 range, depending on how good you are at the skills coming up after that.
Yeah. And I don't even know that you necessarily, if you're not a strong rower, right? Like you don't have to even be at that pace, right? I mean, I can remember doing it, and I'm normal sized, I'm 5'11" ish. And, fitness wise, I was pretty decent when I was doing it back in the day, right? When it was when you were getting into the muscle up sets, the majority of the people were just getting into muscle ups. They weren't finishing rounds. But I remember pretty distinctly like rowing somewhere in like the 1200 to 1300 range and being able to get off and go straight to work. And if like muscle ups were a strength for me. So I knew that the muscle ups I was going to be okay at. Like I knew that the row, I could put myself in a deficit. And so I wanted to make sure that I didn't do that. So I think it's important that people play to their strengths. And I think if fitness wise that like you feel good about movements to come, making sure that you get off the rower where you don't get off and you're like, holy shit, I just put myself in a hole. That's the key to the work, to the row for sure. Yeah.
And then you get off there, you get into the toe to bar again, knowing that kind of the crux of the workout is the muscle ups, which is going to have some component of grip, of pulling a midline in there. It's again, a movement that doesn't require you to push it that big. I think most people that are trying to get to, a semifinals level or beyond probably can get damn near 50 unbroken, if not more, but there's no reason to do that. Like I think Laura did it in 30-20, which even that I was shocked by.
Yeah.
I think it's something that you can pretty easily do 4 or 5 sets with a quick rest, keep your heart rate down, keep your grip and your core fatigue down, and you just kind of cruise through there. It's a box to be checked. It's not a place for you to show off how good you are at midline capacity.
Yeah. I mean, I think 15, 15, 10, 10 for, we're talking about semifinal or better athletes, or if you're very good at toe to bar, but even, tens or 10, 8, 7, 5s, for people, I think that's fine as long as you're limiting your rest and you're paying attention, because in a way you're going to save your grip. You're going to, save your midline and that you're going to need it big time in a couple of movements.
Yeah.
So again, staying within yourself here, and depending on how toes to bar are for you. Now, if we're talking about, toe to bar can be a separator, obviously, for those that are kind of on the, that borderline quarterfinal level, right? Toes to bar can be very challenging. So I think it's understanding your capacity. And I remember, there were some athletes, I remember, doing this workout several times, but doing it with athletes who started off with some 5s and then literally went through quick singles of toe to bars and still made it to the muscle ups. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, but I think ultimately it's understanding you and not getting out of your comfort zone on it. So it's making sure that you're setting yourself up to be able to do some damage in the muscle ups, or at least to try to do some damage on that tie break time if you know that muscle ups aren't going to happen. But that might be going to quick singles. It depends on your capacity.
I think that part of the workout reminds me of the workout from the Zillows games that we had. That was the up and down chipper, had 50 toe to bar on one end of it. And I think James Sprague went in one of the first heats for the guys. And I think everybody looks at 50 and they would have thought they'd do like 15 and then chip away from there. And he did 10 sets of 5 really fast, 5-second rest. And I think won the whole workout. And it was the most efficient thing through there. And I think that that's something that even people at that level can take away from that, is like, you don't need to go big. If you can do small sets, control your heart rate, be disciplined on rest, that you're going to make up 15 seconds later on down the line. It's not going to matter how many sets you took there.
Yeah, I agree. Dakota, how'd you break that up?
I felt pretty composed during that part. I went 15, 15, 8, 7, 5. I might have been able to do one smaller break there in the middle. I feel pretty confident with my toes to bar, though. I definitely was a little bit jacked up getting into the wall balls. But I mean, I really did feel that heart rate start to settle down a little bit through the wall balls. So I don't necessarily think I would change that. I thought it was a good split. I mean, obviously looking back, if I were to have videoed and gone back and looked at the video and seen time breaks and how long it took me in between, maybe, but I liked that 15, 15, 8, 7, 5.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Wall balls.
Make dynamic contractions aerobic, Casey says. Casey's the smartest coach we have. I don't even know if I can explain what he just said. I think like generally speaking, what he's saying is there's no reason to take some of these like dynamic movements that we have and turn them into an anaerobic thing that's going to fatigue you more than they have to. So being able to break it down into set sizes that are more aerobic for you, control your heart rate, keep fatigue down, just allows you to push through the workout better to prepare for what's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
You did 2 sets or 3 sets on the wall balls?
I did 3 sets. So for me, I actually was, for the first chunk of the workout being like up through the power cleans, I was pretty certain that the power cleans were going to be the thing that was like the most daunting to me just in terms of heart rate. Because just looking at like 30 straight power cleans is just obnoxious for me. And I don't do a whole lot of actual CrossFit. So whereas wall balls are one of like my bigger strengths, I broke it into 3 sets, took a quick little rest, and I was able to get into the power cleans feeling better than otherwise. Whereas I think if the workout ended after the power cleans, I probably would have just tried to do the wall balls unbroken, but knowing that that wasn't the case, that was not the plan.
And I think you heard them talk about how they felt like the wall balls were recovery.
Yes.
For sure. Talking about the majority of, at this level, the majority of our athletes are doing 30 pounds to 10 feet or 20
or
pounds
higher,
to 11 or 12 feet. And I can't remember the last time we programmed a workout with 14 pounds to 9 feet. So, I definitely think that this is an opportunity now to catch your breath a little bit and remain composed. I always talk about with people not fighting the eccentric on the wall balls. Like really think of being able to use your stretch reflex, like drop into the bottom. It's kind of like channel your inner gi. My heroes who just, you watch him and he's like a piston, right? And it really is. It's just don't slow it down and get through those. And I don't think it's an issue to break those once or twice. twice with quick breaks, just to give your shoulders a little bit of a break. Again, understanding that you've got muscle ups coming up. I mean, if wall balls are really easy for you and you look at that and you're a taller athlete and it's not an issue for you, you can definitely go unbroken. But I don't know that it is a huge deal or that you have to, right? You can definitely break that once or twice, understanding what's coming up in the cleans and the muscle up.
Again, it's like we talk about this a lot with our crew. It's what's the cost of a break? Toe to bar and wall ball are both movements that you could do a break in 3 seconds. Whereas something like stepping away from a power clean in between reps over the course of 30 reps could turn into 30, 40, 50 seconds. Taking a break in between muscle ups is 15, 20 seconds for people. And so knowing that like, okay, I could do 40 wall balls or I could do 3 sets of wall balls and I might be 8 total seconds slower, but I'm going to feel way better is 100% worth what it's going to give you later on in that workout.
Yeah, agreed. How'd you feel during the wall balls, Dakota?
Same. I did 20, 10, 10. So 3 sets. I did like a quick peek at the clock to try and give myself that honest, like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And like, that's definitely nice when you have a coach or a judge who's like in your face, kind of giving you that reminder. But I just did that for myself this time. And yeah, it was good. I knew that like for me, especially my midline going from those wall balls to the cleans, like cycling 135 is no problem, but dropping it, going back down to pick it up every time. There was like one moment in the cleans where I was like, do I have a belt nearby? And then I just knew that I only had like 12 left. And so
what you knew was that I was ahead of you at that point in the workout and you were nervous.
There's not enough time. But, I mean, there was at one moment where I started to feel a little bit in, my low back just from doing the bending over. I'm a long torso guy, so that gets me. But no, I mean, the wall balls are cool. The cleans, I mean, they were nice. 135. There was like a power muscle hybrid, just quick grab, rip it up, pop the elbows, drop it. It
very much becomes just like a disciplined movement. If you watch, Soroka had this up earlier. I don't know if he'll pull it back up, but if you watch the pace that Laura's going at through the middle of Lazar's going at through the middle of that set of power cleans, it's not fast. It's not aggressive. It's just consistent. And being able to finish a rep, drop it down, get your hands back down towards the bar, not in a hurry, but not lollygagging, just makes a really big difference. It's just discipline is the word that we use all the time with the crew.
I wasn't forcing it back down and trying to re-grab it as quick as possible, but I wasn't also lining up and trying to have the perfect, stance and width. I just kind of grabbed it where it was, ripped it up. And if I had to you see them stepping up to the bar every time, just as like a quick adjustment instead of trying to go down and roll it in or whatever kind of, sequences that people have. Yeah. Just relax.
Yeah, I love Lazar's pace looks awesome here. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Controlled, one big breath at the top. And then his hands are right back down to the bar. And I think we talk about this with power cleans, with thrusters, with things like this. Like when a barbell is this light, in your brain that it's not heavy enough that you're ever going to fail a rep or you can't do it. And so the hardest part is like breathing in between and looking at the bar. And if you can just get your hands back on it, you can always continue to do a little bit more work.
And so that brings up one of the points we wanted to talk about, which because we just saw Laura go 5
cycling,
touch and go, and we saw Gabby go 5 touch and go. And my thought on that, right? And I know James Hobart talked a little bit about it after the workout, kind of giving CrossFit's strategy tips. And I think he actually said maybe doing a set of 5 or maybe
5 to 10.
Did 5 to 10 to start.
And that's just nuts. The second fittest woman in the world who has the best grip in the world did 5 and then went to singles. That there is nobody, other than Laura, in my opinion.
5 to 10 reps.
Yeah, that makes no sense. So I love James. He's great. He's a great coach and he's a phenomenal athlete.
Cleans, saving.
I couldn't disagree more. I think it's a terrible idea.
We talk about Casey saying like make dynamic contractions more aerobic and stuff. And the fastest way to blow yourself up and rush to your ring muscle ups would be to touch and go the power cleans. And so I think that the only time that makes sense is if you're racing to your tie break and that's your one goal.
Correct.
And
If that's the end of your workout, fine. But this is just a setup for the muscle ups.
I mean, I think it's a negative, not just muscularly, but cardiovascularly. I mean,
100%.
it's gonna sky. You're gonna redline yourself, and you're also gonna burn your grip out. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense in any capacity when you have muscle ups coming up, which for most people are the crux of the workout. So, I think that's actually a poor strategy, and I think going to fast singles and finding your rhythm and staying on it and being tough during them, and in my opinion, the clock is your friend here. This is a scenario where I would like pay attention, and I try to make sure, like, whether it's, whatever your level is, right? If it's one power clean every 5 seconds, if it's one power clean every 7 seconds, one power clean every 3 seconds, whatever it is for you. And it's one of those where I would just try to stay on that pace as long as I can. And then if I have to take, like you did 6, and then you would take an extra 2 breaths. If you need to do that, that's fine. But I think it's a great opportunity to just find a cadence that you can do those fast singles with. You're not going to redline, not going to skyrocket your heart rate. And it also is the best strategy to maintain your grip. It's by far the best strategy in my opinion. So that's what we would suggest to people. I'm not a fan of touch and go at all.
And those few reps that when it was playing, I was watching Gabby. Like, at least Laura was kind of letting it slam back down. Gabby was catching it and controlling it down. And I mean, for doing all that at that point of the workout, like, it just seemed like it was.
And I think it's easy to see, like, they're so fit and so impressive that you see them do that and you see them score really well, and you assume that that's the way to do it. And one, their capacity is probably better than most people listening to this. But two, that doesn't mean that that's still the best strategy for them. Like, they could redo that a different way and perhaps do better on that. So don't look at it and say, like, oh, they did this, so that was the best way. I think it's really easy to assume, because it feels easier or faster sometimes to cycle touch and go on things, and it feels like it's not such a burden, but just the prolonged effect of what that's doing to your heart rate and what that's doing to the movements after makes a big difference.
So one of the things that I, going into those cleans, I think it's also important to talk to people about is the mental aspect, because I know you guys said that was the toughest part as far as it being the grind of the workout. Maybe not the hardest part of the workout, but just as far as how grindy it was. So I think just understanding when you get to that part that this is that time you got to bear down. It's really easy to do a clean and step away and take an extra few seconds. And like Dakota, pointed out earlier, there are a lot of cleans in this workout. And if you step away and you take an extra second or 2 seconds rest that you don't necessarily need, you're not talking about 30 to 60 seconds, which for some people could be, upwards of 3 to 5 muscle ups. So I think it's really important to try to find your groove here, and just remember, this is the point where you've got to stay really mentally tough before you get into the muscle ups. And that's my biggest advice as far as the mental grind during that moment.
And that should excite people. I mean, it's the open, like, that's that deep, dark place. And it's not even that deep of a dark place, honestly. It's not like doing 100 wall balls and, just suffering every time it's landing on you. It's just making sure you're not being soft. Don't let yourself step away. Like, I coach my athletes, like, you have your little box, and whether it's literally we have that 4-foot-by-6 box that I set my bar in when I'm doing them. And I mean, just don't step outside the box, as long as you're close to the bar, you're not letting that, time squeeze in between you.
To me, something like a big set of singles on power cleans is very similar to like a big set of burpees, where there's no benefit to going crazy fast if it's going to make you go really slow at the end. And there's a huge opportunity to stand there and feel bad for yourself. So you're really just trying to find the middle ground of, like, what is my sustainable pace that in the beginning might feel a little bit below my threshold, but I know that over the course of this, I'm never going to get past the threshold, because you're trying to avoid that fall off. And so, doing one every 6 seconds for somebody, which is going to feel slow for your first 5 or 10, might be the best possible way to make sure that's consistent across 30.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Now, Kiefer's favorite part of the workout.
Yeah.
What did you tell me what initially went through your head? Like, cause you were in a really good place
Now,
mentally.
did you think right before, let's like you're about to hop up on the bar, did you think you were going to do 2 or 3? Because you said
Yes.
I'm going to do doubles or triples,
Yes.
you know, throughout the whole workout.
I was certain.
Yeah.
I got off the power cleans. I walked over to the chalk like the cockiest guy in the room. I said, I have 4 minutes left. I'm going to finish these and I'm going to beat Dakota, and the shit I'm going to talk is going to be epic. I took my shirt off. I was ready to go. I got up there and I did one muscle up that felt like when you get your first muscle up ever, how you just like barely get over and you're all excited to just press out the dip. And I went, oh, fuck. Hi.
Yep.
But it was just because it was not because I felt like I had totally redlined. It was because my limiter was not at all what I expected my limiter to be. And so I just wasn't prepared for it. And that's just a lack of time spent doing actual CrossFit pairings. It was really
And
fun. Then I very quickly realized that you were going to pass me right away on that.
Yeah. And then you went up for the second one and you missed it. And I was like, oh shit.
Yep.
I was just hoping you were going to get another one. So you managed to squeak out 5 though.
Yeah. My hands looked like Kendall's by the end. I was just chalking over and over and over again until they were white.
You just got to the point where you just started cheering for Dakota.
Yes.
He very quickly went from I'm about to bust Dakota's ass to like, all right, fine, let me cheer on Dakota. So.
Yep. And then I had to create like a positive reframe and be like, okay, like I did the best thing I could for him. I pushed him through this first part. Now I'm sending him off. It is a workout that I would redo because it was entirely like there's something to be gained just from me practicing the movements again. It wasn't like I don't know. It wasn't like such a grueling workout that I'm gonna hurt myself by doing it more. And I think that there is a lot to learn by trying a different strategy and going into it with a different mindset. I think, just me thinking I was going to do triples and realizing it was singles changed a ton about how fast I would have tried to do sets throughout that piece. I think realizing how much it was my midline and not my forearms would have changed the fact of me doing 10, 8, 7 at the beginning of toe to bar. And I would have just done 5s the whole way, knowing that the rowing is a huge strength. The wall balls are a huge strength. I felt okay on power cleans. I was going to have plenty of time. I just needed my trunk to feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the midline, it was like doing that GHD and rope climb and ring muscle up one where you don't normally realize how much abs you use when you're taking that swing. And I think that having
Nick.
No plan was my first
Nick.
plan. Yeah. I didn't
Dakota, you look good on those muscle ups.
I didn't respond to Nick.
They were great.
On Instagram, but he was asking me. Oh, sorry.
You were one misstep away from like a flawless run of 4 sets of 5 through the muscle ups. And that would have, I mean, you even said this and you can talk more about it, but like you spending 5 more seconds resting before your last set of 5 and actually getting 5 instead of doing 4 and then 1 would have saved you an additional 30 seconds on the rower at the end.
Yeah. And I think that maybe doing that 1 extra toes to bar break could have been something where like, okay, my midline felt a little bit better. I was going from my shorter, quicker turnover muscle ups to like pushing those rings and try and swing myself up as far as I could because I was surprised that it was actually a good amount of my pull and my core that was smoked. Like my grip was fine. It was just for 5 ring muscle ups or doing 1 or 2 ring muscle ups. Like it wasn't actually as grippy as I thought it was going to be. It was just midline at the end.
So I think when we talk about skill level and we talk about if people are good at muscle ups, setting yourself up for those first 4 movements for those muscle ups is going to be huge. You want to make sure that you don't go in to the muscle ups if it's a strength of yours. If you don't, they did long straps, Allie.
Yep.
You want to make
There's
sure
only
that you
one
don't
set
go
of
in there.
One set of high straps in the gym for my big boy. I use the long straps and they're basically short by the time I put them up to my height.
But those first 4 movements, if don't yourself set yourself up to for not non-success, unsuccess, to not be successful. So I think if you're good at muscle ups, I mean, I think we saw Laura and Lazar did 3 sets or so, but I mean, I think, it's very feasible to do 3 sets. I liked Dakota's plan, of 4 5s or maybe like a 6 5 5 4. Something along those lines, I think is very reasonable. Let's see. What does Soroka say?
So Soroka's actually a very good gymnast, especially for like a slightly bigger athlete. And I think his capacity is a little better than what mine would be on an EMOM too. And knowing how much I struggled with that, I would say that for you, you're probably looking at like that first set might be 2 or 3, but as your heart rate continues to come down, I think that you may feel a little bit better throughout the sets. I think the first one is a little bit of a shock. So even going up and just getting 2 and being successful and then taking a 20-second rest puts you in a position where you could probably get 3 to 5 and be okay. But I think more than anything, your goal is that you're trying to execute consistent sets without a miss, without a fail, because every failed rep is a massive chunk of time that you're losing.
And I also think it's important to say take an extra 10 to 15 seconds prior to that first set. Don't be afraid to take a little bit extra time on the muscle ups, because I think it will pay off in the end, especially if you can add 1 rep as opposed to then having to add an extra set at the end.
Yeah.
I think without question. And for those people that struggle with muscle ups, or maybe you have muscle ups, but like we talked about, it's something where maybe your max set is 5 or 6. Don't go in expecting to be able to do your max set. I mean, you're going to go in there and it's going to be a struggle. But that's fine. Accepting it, being realistic, and going in saying to yourself, hey, give myself an extra 10 to 15 seconds going into that first rep. And now, like, I'm going to go up there, see how that first one feels. If I can knock out multiples, great. But if I have to, swallow my pride and hit singles here, that's fine. The key is try not to miss. Misses cost you so much time. So strategize there to be able to be successful and not miss. I would say plan breaks there are by far the best. We're not looking to be a hero.
And then I think on the higher end, the athletes that are, semifinalist level already, they're proficient at all of the movements in here. I would say don't get dragged too far into the deep end by like the shiny object things that you're really good at early in the workout. Like if you're phenomenal at toes to bar and you look at 50 and you're licking your chops, like that doesn't mean that you have to do it in 2 quick sets and race through and be the first person to the wall balls. There's a lot to be said for being so good that you can use that as your opportunity to rest while other people are working. And then you can feel that much better. So your set's a little bit bigger getting to the muscle ups.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we saw, and that was first thing Lazar said when he got off, right? Was essentially like, I went too big on the toe to bar.
There was just no reason to.
Yeah.
And like even in that last 15, 20 seconds, I mean, he had a good chunk coming off the rower for BKG, but he hopped up and he did 3, then he did 2, then he did 1, and BKG had like 30 seconds and he maxed the entire 30 seconds, just ripping them the entire time. And I think, part of that was because he did some smaller sets in the beginning. And maybe his long-term capacity is better, but you definitely saw a huge change there.
Yeah, it's a fun workout. It's this was a really exciting way to start the Open rather than it just being a low barrier to entry fitness fest.
I was shocked too.
Nobody was more shocked than me.
I've always said it's my favorite Open workout of all time. I just think it's incredibly well programmed. I don't think it favors any specific type of athlete. And I'm stoked that they did it. I think it's great. I'm very curious to see. I think the scores, are just going to.
Is that the beyond the whiteboard
scores? Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah, I'm very excited to see kind of what the averages will be. Where people have gotten to, right?
So you're saying I am elite plus, or I'm elite, right at the 185 mark.
Games
Nailed it.
Let's go.
Look at you, bro.
Love that. This needs to be updated.
Yes. When it's updated, I have a feeling you're no longer going to be in the elite. The elite realm, my friend.
Yes, Ali, I was speaking directly to you.
On the toes of the bar?
Yes, because this is a perfect example. Ali is one of the best people I've ever been around at toe to bar.
Yes.
The same could be said for Ricky on the men's side, right?
Yes.
And in the past, she's always used that as an opportunity to gain ground on people. But another way to frame that is go the same pace as other people, take the same breaks, but know that you're going to be fresher. Your heart rate's going to be lower. Your midline's going to feel better than they would. That's something that Roman said at the Rogue Invitational when they had the Echo on DT workout, was he wasn't biking faster than anybody. He wasn't doing anything faster. He just knew that him biking at the same pace as everybody else was a recovery for him and it was work for everybody else. And so Absolutely. He felt that much better going into the last couple of rounds. And I think that's tough. That takes a lot of trust. But for people that are as good as somebody like Ali, Ricky, Roman, these athletes, like now is the time to play with those strategies that might be outside of like your past comfort zones, because you're going to move on regardless, but you can learn a little bit more about like yourself and how you can game things differently. Because it's like how, you know, Justin had said before, like, don't go into a test expecting to do it the exact same way and have a better outcome, right? Like, try something different, learn something about yourself, have a better strategy.
Yeah, and I also think, you know, for an athlete like Ali, who's so good at toes to bar, but you know, maybe is not, you know, struggles a little bit at wall balls, like allowing yourself, you know, kind of going at that pace, pacing out your toe to bar a little bit more will also allow you to, you know, not be as fatigued going into wall balls, which can make the wall balls feel better.
Power
You
cleans
know,
will feel better. Everything feels a
absolutely.
little better.
I just think it's, you know, you can use that to your advantage. And set yourself up well for the rest of the workout. But yeah, I mean, I think it's so cool, and I love the movements here, because you're going to have, you know, athletes that have many different strengths within the workout. They're going to be able to strategize differently depending on you know what they're good at. So you're going to see a lot of people who do things a bit differently, and it's going to be fun to see, you know, kind of how that plays out.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. I think it's a great workout. And I think it's a great way to start, you know, to start the open.
The whole workout is made for people in that last like 3 to 4 minutes. Like, we'll even see this with our group. I'm super excited. We'll have guys like Matt that are phenomenal at some of the early movements that I would expect to get to the muscle ups really early, but maybe can't go quite as big on sets. That's just not his wheelhouse. And then maybe somebody like Raph, who will be more conservative in the first half, but we know can take out big chunks on the muscle ups at the end. So I think it's a really cool equalizer that plays into people's strengths in different ways and finds the fitter athletes.
So I want to know from you guys, what do you think is possible worldwide? What do you think the top? We saw, you know, some of the best in the world take it on today. We saw Lazar get 286, I believe. And we saw, I think Laura got just shy of 270 on the women's side, 269 or something, 268, 269. What do you think is possible worldwide? Do you think on the men's side that we'll see some guys go 300 plus?
Is that clearing the toes to bar?
How many reps is clearing toe to bar?
No, that's 310.
Stroke, do the math quick.
Well, it's 200 plus 110.
Okay, so
Noah got 30 toe to bar.
So that's 290.
Yeah.
I think.
Is anyone just that much of a freak what they're going to just rip those muscle ups in 2 sets and toes to bar back on there? But still,
does anybody care enough about that little extra push in the open to go that hard is the question.
Well, let's see. So if he got 30 toe to bar, what is that?
290.
That's 290?
Yeah.
I got to imagine 300 is certainly possible. I'm sure it's probably even possible for Noah if you were to do it again, maybe. I think if you imagine Noah is one of the best in the world at toe to bar and muscle ups, but there are certainly guys that are going to be faster on the rower, can make up a little difference.
Yeah. Speaking of Noah, just shout out to Noah quick. I know he's been dealing with some issues and stuff, and love that dude and hope he feels better soon. I mean, he still went out and fucking murdered an open workout. 30 toe to bar, but I know he's struggling and you know, so thinking about you, bro.
I'm going out on a limb and I'm saying that Ricky gets 40 toe to bar.
So 300.
Wow.
I think he's going to do it. I think it's the number, because I think that he's probably still one of the few guys in that, first of all, like, toe to bar cycling is one of his biggest strengths. Ring muscle ups are a massive strength for him. And I think that he is one of the few people at that level of the sport who still feels like they have something to prove every single time they post a score on something. And so I think he has extra incentive in the open. I don't know if he's doing it right now. I don't know what time it is over there, but it's got to happen soon.
What about on the girls' end then? If you got 300 for guys, how many more toes to bar do you think that
anybody beat Laura?
Yeah,
maybe Mal.
Maybe, but Mal's a lot shorter.
Yeah,
Mal's a lot shorter, and Laura definitely has advantage on the rower. Laura went 30-20 on toe to bar. Like, what? doesn't make sense to me. And that's a lot of calories on that. I mean, that's 120 calories
Yeah.
for Laura. So that's a pretty big advantage. I mean, Mal will smoke
Laura's
it, for
probably
sure.
the best compromise is not the right word. Best combo of like a bigger, powerful athlete on machines who's also phenomenal at ring muscle ups.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody
Great
else that has both the
upper
same
body
way.
puller. I mean, incredible upper body puller.
Who knows? Maybe Alex will do it in Hawaii.
You know who I think is going to crush this? Is Karen Freyova. Karen Frey. I just think she's going to murder this. This is the type of workout I think she can smash.
Are these already posted scores?
I don't think 380 is accurate, so we'll throw that one out.
There's no chance.
Is that a scaled 380 or
It's
with
sit-ups.
jumping pull-ups and sit-ups? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love Brittany Malitsky. I'm sure she's a wonderful person. No chance that she
Maybe.
got 380.
Yeah.
No chance.
Thank you, Sroka, for putting us in a position to call out people already.
How about on the men's side, Sroka? What do we got? What we got, bro? Allen went, no chance.
391? Is that what
No.
that says?
Nah, it's not. No chance.
Massacred.
CrossFit Nashville?
CrossFit East Nashville.
No
That's
chance.
proven
Go
gym.
set them straight. Go set them straight. Okay.
There's no chance. No way.
Maybe
my
291?
God. 391. No way. I'm still not buying it. I mean, I don't think so, man. There's these guys. Maybe. I don't think so, though. I'll keep looking and see if we see anything else.
I should get myself on there quick. See if I can see myself in a top couple hundred.
I mean,
before
one of
everybody else
our
fills in.
underdogs athletes, who I coach, already chimed in, and I'm not going to say who it is, but he tied Lazar.
Wow,
So that's pretty unbelievable.
that's impressive.
Yes, incredibly impressive, especially when people find out who it is.
Somebody looking to make a return to the games, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's going to surprise some people this year. He's looking really fit. But yeah, I agree with you. I do think 300 plus is possible, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say we'll get a 270 plus on the women's side. I think we will.
They're going to beat Froning.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be Froning because he was 277.
27. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
277.
so I'm not sure, but I think we'll get a 270 plus. But I think you'll see an unbelievable amount of women who get back to the rower this year, comparatively. I mean, it's going to be incredible to see the advancement of the sport and to see where these athletes have come from and where they are now. I think it's going to be absolutely astonishing when we see the scores.
They dropped that stat somewhere when we were listening. I think they said like 5 women.
I think it was 4. I think it was 4
only
women.
4 women. That's crazy.
Yeah.
There are going to be so many this year.
Yeah, it's going to be remarkable.
Here's a good question for you, Justin, because you have the best history mind for this. If the Open were just one workout, would you be content with this being the workout and the leaderboard at the end of this moving on?
I think so. Absolutely. I love this workout. I think this is the workout. This is the Open workout that I look back at over the years. And I say to myself, like, generally speaking, you can tell from this workout who belongs and who doesn't. Like, we get a lot of workouts that are very biased. You get a lot of workouts that, are qualifier style workouts.
Mm-hmm.
This is a workout that, like, you've got to be fit. And when you see people who get back to the rower, but then you see people who get back to toe to bar, I mean, that's serious. Like, you've got the skill, you've got the capacity. It's a fantastic workout. Yeah. Oh yeah. One more shout out. We want to obviously found out today about Haley Adams, who's taking a step away from the sport. I've gotten a chance, to spend time with Haley. I was lucky enough to be in the bubble coaching Carrie, and Haley was obviously one of those athletes at the ranch back in Games 2020. So I got to spend a lot of time with her, and she is just a wonderful person. And we're thinking about you and support you. And no matter what you do, I hope you come back. But regardless, she's an amazing person, amazing athlete. And I know that, you have our support here at Underdogs, and we wish you all the best with whatever you decide to do for the season or the future. So just wanted to make sure that we got that out there as well.
For sure.
Any closing thoughts, boys?
I am well, I'm terrified for what's to come in weeks 2 and 3 if we got a higher skill test in week 1. Dakota and I
think
looked at
they're
each
just
other
gonna-
after, and we said,
I
"This
know,
is just
right?
going to get
Yeah.
bad. It's going to get bad."
Or
I mean-
or they just pick all the best, combinations, and it's the best open ever. And I don't know.
Yeah, where's he going to go from here? We're going to see crossover dubs and wall-facing handstand push-ups
Well, we
in the open. Oh my gosh!
I heard a couple people talking about new movements. I'm not necessarily sure if that's
Inverted burpees,
yeah.
right? That was one of them.
I would not be
standardize
surprised.
that? Where does it end? At the perfectly upright handstand, or just feet off the
hope they don't
ground?
do that. I really.
It
hope
just
they don't do that.
it seems.
I would not be surprised if shuttles make their way into the open because they were in quarterfinals and then work their way up.
Agree with that.
I also would not be surprised if we saw farmers carries because they were in the age group semifinals this past year, just kind of like flew under the radar in that piece.
I would see that.
And I think that sort of thing could work into like a really easy work capacity test, maybe mixed with burpees, maybe mixed with something else. So
Would you like to see those double dumbbell alternating snatches like I was doing the other day?
we don't want to ever talk about those again.
Yeah, no, let's not see those.
Cool. If
Awesome.
if you guys are planning your Saturday training, I would say things like shuttles, burpees, kettlebell swings, low barrier to entry movements that are just high rate of movement are the things to put a little time into, both because it's going to give you a break from some of the higher skill stuff today, but also because I'm sure that over the course of the open, we're going to get more of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we always tend to see an open workout like what you just mentioned, and I feel like it's going to be. I feel like that's probably what's coming up next. I think they started with a bang, but I'd be very surprised if we don't see a workout that's pure capacity and not a lot of skill, not heavy, just something that you can grunt your way through. It's shuttle runs, burpees, box jump overs, whatever those type of movements. I feel pretty confident we're going to see that coming up after what we just saw. But listen, guys, I got to be honest, like. Very pleased with the first workout. I think it's a heck of a way to start. I think they did a wonderful job. I've been waiting for this repeat workout for a lot of years. This is a great workout. So I was happy that they programmed it, and I thought you guys did very, very well today, especially you, Dakota. And
thank you.
Yeah, Kiefer, I was impressed for 9 minutes and 52 seconds. I was very, very impressed.
That is longer than most people are impressed with me. So. And on that note, we will see you next week.
Bye, y'all.